A show like no other, right about this time, Monday to Friday, 1 to 2 p.m. We discuss nothing but what happens in the world of sports. Clive Chaze is my name, and this is the Sports Dish. And of course, today's show, we shall be discussing a number of things, but one major topic that we shall be discussing and dissecting is sports management courses. For a very long time, we've had several Ugandans going through different sports management courses, but only a few of them have managed to actually come to the forefront and do the talking or implement what they have been discussing, what they have started. Joining us on the show will be Ivan Kakembo, who is a former CEO with Sports Club Vida and Uganda Revenue Authority Football Club. Recently, he did graduate in Zurich, Switzerland with a FIFA management club, FIFA management in club course. Of course, he will be letting us know what he studied and how can it be implemented to grow sports in Uganda. Also joining us for the discussion will be George Wagogo. Now, George Wagogo is a sports tutor at Chamberlain University. He's also the program director, a man who is in charge of the courses at the Uganda Olympic Committee. Now, those two gentlemen will be joined by I myself and Mr. Shaban Rubega Benteke Chilevu here. By the way, who is the reason that we are having this discussion today? Shaban, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Clive, and good afternoon, everyone watching. Definitely, I'm not the reason, but I'm part of the reason why we're having it, because most definitely it is something that you think would be an eye-opener for people out there. It is an initiative, or it is a course that definitely every developing country needs so as to achieve whatever I want to achieve sporting-wise, and I'm looking forward to interacting with the two gentlemen.
Well, of course, we shall be interacting with the two gentlemen, but before that discussion gets to start, we shall be joined by Emanzi Ndiamhachi. You might be wondering why Emanzi is not with us in studio today. We shall be talking to Emanzi Ndiamhachi, who is somewhere in Undeje, yes, today at Undeje University in Uwero, because they are launching a campaign for their ladies team that will be representing Uganda at the Africa Volleyball Championships in Tunisia. That should be next month. And of course, a host of other things are supposed to happen, because we are also told that the General Secretary of National Council of Sports, Bernard Ogwero, will be joining them in Undeje, because they have a series of sports activities that they are supposed to launch. But as we wait for Emanzi to join us, Shaban, between yesterday and today, I don't know what has stood out for you.
Yeah, a lot sporting-wise. Of course, we know that two teams are gearing up for the Uganda Cup this afternoon. That is Bull are going to be taking on Boma.
The first semi-final, the first leg of the semi-final.
Yeah, first leg of the semi-finals in Masindi. I think it is a big fixture for Boma. I would suggest that it's their biggest fixture since inception, because they're taking on a top flight side and in the semi-final of a Uganda Cup. But then we also have sport happening across Europe and all over the world. Today the Premier League returns. The title chasers, that is Liverpool, are in action, away to Aston Villa, a tie that you think would go a long way in deciding who is champion at the end of the season. Liverpool are 3 points behind Man City going into the final 3 games. City will only be in action tomorrow. And then, of course, the NBA happened last night. Someone took a series to 3-1. That is
last night or today morning?
This morning, rather, although it is last night in the USA. But Golden State Warriors are now 3-1 up against the Memphis Grizzlies. That led onslaught by Steph Curry scoring 18 points in the fourth quarter. And then Boston somehow leveled series against the Milwaukee Bucks this morning. So that one is 2-2. That is, I think, what I can mention.
Well, we are going all the way to Ndeje, that should be around Bombo, to talk to Emanzi Ndiamhachi. He's usually in studio with us, but he's not here today because he is covering an event that is supposed to be big in a way, but we shall wait for him to give us the details. Emanzi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Clive and Shaban.
I was about to ask, where are you hiding?
I'm not hiding. I'm in Ndeje. I'm at Ndeje University. For something that is sporting.
Yes, of course.
So
the last time we talked to you, nothing really had happened or taken place. What can you give us so far? What exactly? Why were you guys invited in Ndeje in the first place?
Well, we are here to, like I think you said in your introduction, the Ndeje Elects are going to launch their campaign for the Africa Club Championships, which will be in Tunisia later this month and not next month. The tournament will start on 19th of May.
Of May, yeah.
Yeah, up to June 1st. So they're trying to organize themselves, present the team to the university administration, including the vice chancellor, and then they've invited members of National Council of Sports, including the general secretary, who is going to be like the chief guest here, and is going to, among other things, of course, recognize the team for winning the league, but also most importantly, to inspect Ndeja University, because it's going to host the East Africa University Games
In December.
later this year in December. Yeah, so those are some of the activities that are going to take place here, and I'm still waiting. The General Secretary is not yet here, and we are still waiting to see, and we'll probably hear from him and from the members of the university and whatever they have to say about the team's success this season. The Ndeje Elites won the league and the National Club Championships, and that is huge. It does not happen very often in Uganda that they have one club winning the two major events on the calendar year. So maybe the reason for the celebrations, and of course they have to be prepared to play on the continent. I understand most of the people that are supposed to travel are still struggling to get their documents, because the issue of phasing out passports and the challenges that we have at the moment in the country. If you're trying to get a passport, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Shaban
It's not
doesn't, but
easy.
me I do.
Yeah, yeah. So it's not easy. I understand that most of the members on the team do not have the new passports. They still have the old ones, so they will need to get the new ones before 18th, because that is the day they are supposed to leave the country. So all these, I think, are matters that they are going to present before the Vice Chancellor and the General Secretary of NCS, and to see whatever help that they can get to be able to travel to Tunisia and represent Uganda.
Okay, Imanzi, I know, of course, like you said, nothing has happened much, so you can't give us an update. But in your submission, you mentioned something like Ndeje will be hosting the East Africa University Games later this year. That should be in December. I know where you
Yes.
are. You're exposed to a number of facilities and all that. If you could probably, you be our eyes and give us an update in terms of sports facilities that Ndeje University have. Would you say between now and December, would you say they are probably 50% or 70% ready to host all the other universities across the region when those games come around?
Yeah, I would say that by December they should be ready. When you consider that they have a football pitch, which URA uses, they have one home game left, and I'm told that after that the pitch will be cordoned off and everything will be taken care of. They have to put a running track, which they are trying to work on, and they say all that will be done after URA play their last game, last home game, which should be against Musoga United, and after that, then they will be able to continue with the preparations. The rest of the facilities, you would say, okay, because they have a volleyball facility, they have a basketball facility that you can see, they have tennis, and usually these games actually stretch to the neighboring schools. Sometimes it could be in the JSS, and the other facilities that are around are not necessarily in the university campus. But I believe they'll be ready by December. They still have a lot of time between then and now, and they look like they are a lot more serious this time round with the preparation.
Emanzi,
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to take you back to the function that is going to happen today. You mentioned that the General Secretary is expected to appear. So I'm wondering,
Yes.
as a journalist, you might have picked something from the corridors. Is the government going to come up with any sort of help for the team to travel to Tunisia?
Well, I believe that is it could be a starting point because by the time these people invite them here, I think maybe this will be the time that they mention that. But usually they do not have these challenges. So every time they actually go. And at least I had information before the league finals that they had been assured that if they had won the league, they would actually travel for these games, and nothing would stop them. And I think the university administration was encouraged by the manner in which the women actually went on to win the league. And there's no reason why they should not be traveling to play on the continent, because the other times that they have qualified, they've actually come out to play. So what the management of the team is going to do is to actually present these trophies and the success that they've had throughout the year before the Vice Chancellor, that is Dr. William present them to him and, of course, make him aware of whatever is happening. And they are very confident that they will get the support from the university especially. And I believe that NCS will chip in wherever they can to be able to get them over the line and make sure that they travel. Because some of the things that they might need now are recommendations in terms of getting the passports for all the players and the other members of the team that have to travel. Otherwise, I think financially the university is in a good place and should be able to facilitate the team for the trip.
Well, Emazi, thank you very much. Probably before we get out of here, who knows, you could have some big breaking news for us.
Pardon?
I'm saying we have to let you go, but probably before we get out of here, if God willing, you might have some big breaking news for us. But for now, we'll let you go.
No breaking news, but when you guys start your topic, I wanted to ask Ivan Kakembo.
He's listening, actually.
Yeah, you could tell us how exactly FUFA manages to train CEOs in a space of weeks. Because a club CEO is basically the person running all these things. Don't you think we need a lot more qualification than what FUFA provides?
Man, you've started with a very, very, very high tempo. But of course, Ivan had your question, and I'm sure he will be able to react to it. But that's Manzi, one of our colleagues here on the show, today joining us from Ndeje University, where he is waiting to cover the launch of the campaign. And Ndeje University will be representing Uganda at the Africa Women Volleyball Club Championships in Tunisia. They're supposed to be leaving for the 18th. That is after they won at the National Volleyball League. But of course, we shall be going into the discussion of the day. Ivan Kakembo is already online all the way from London, and he will be joining us to dissect the issue of sports management courses. Ivan, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Clive. How are you?
Yes, I'm fine. Of course, just to introduce the other guest we have on the show is Mr. George Wagogo. This man wears so many hats. But today he's here in the capacity of the programs director at the Uganda Olympic Committee. He does help in facilitating those sports management courses. He's also a sports tutor at Chambogo University. I don't know whether he's the head coach of the football team, but he's a sports tutor at Chambogo University, and he does so many other things around sports management. But of course, in a bit, we shall be hearing from Ivan. But George, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Clive.
How has it been?
So we are pushing on. Quite a lot of activities going on currently around university sports. Like you said, I wear so many hats. Sometimes it becomes hard to introduce yourself. But my career, my profession is all about sport. I'm trained. I'm a former player myself. I work with Chamberlain University, like you said. I also head capacity building programs at Uganda Olympic Committee. But most importantly, in university sports, I'm also the technical director, Association of Uganda University Sports. So it makes me feel proud, and I'm privileged, I could say, to hold all these positions and to be here. Thank you for hosting me.
Well, looks like we are in good hands. And of course, if you were with us from the start of the show, or if you're a person who watches the Sports Dish on a daily basis, last week we had the discussion. Actually, we are doing the story where Ivan here did graduate with a diploma in club management trained by FIFA in Zurich, and we hinted about how we've had so many Ugandans who have gone through different sports management courses. And my colleague here, Shaban, actually giving the reference of Ivan, said that as a society, we are not yet ready to embrace all these sports management courses, and it is on that background that we are having discussion. You yourself, you've been part of a series of these courses. I mean, so many probably people have gone through these courses at Chambo University, where you lecture, but also at the Uganda Olympic Committee. And the first question I'll ask, what is the importance of sports management courses?
I think I want to first commend Ivan and thank him for, congratulate him rather for that great achievement. I've been with Ivan before, when I was still at Kampala Kids League. We did quite a lot of work together, developing youth sport, specifically football. Back to your question, I think people need to understand that whenever we talk about professionalizing sport, and you're talking about, okay, we need to go professional and all that kind of stuff, a lot comes with it. It doesn't mean that because I was a former footballer and I loved football, I could manage football. No, you basically have to go back to school to understand the gist of management of football. And that's where the Western world has taken, or the developed world has taken it to a much bigger stage. Sport is no longer a recreation like we used to take it back in the days, where you would just say, like, you know, at school, every 4 p.m. you would run to the football field and run around, play, and I mean, that's it. Now we are looking at more professionals. There's a lot of research, for example, that is being done in different aspects of sport, be it betting, be it drug abuse, doping, be it injury, all those. And we have professionals who are actually going back to study these areas. So the issue of saying that, I mean, you can just manage sport anyhow, that's so backward, I would say. And people need to now understand that when you talk of professionalizing sport, it doesn't only, it's not only about the athlete or the footballer or the volleyballer or whatever it is, but it starts with you, who is in the background, who is the manager. Most people will not know the purpose of the manager, but the manager does most of the work before any of these athletes go to the elite level. So it would be very important to put it into consideration. And I've trained so many people, I've seen what they do. Clive here is my former student at UOC. And he has done a lot of work. I'm actually impressed now with the journalists in sport, all those who have studied with us. You see, there's a difference even in the way they make their presentations, be it on TV, be it on radio, because they now know they have the understanding of, for example, if it is the Olympics, what is the Olympics all about? What is entailed in the Olympics? Why is the team, for example, 5 athletes and 15 officials? Clive now knows that now. Yeah? But back in the day, so many people used not to understand, and the layman out there will still raise that issue. Why are we having so many officials and so less of the athletes? So basically,
I wanted us to connect with Ivan, maybe also hear from him, because for me at the moment, yes, he's a man who loves the game of football a lot, and he just had to go through 1 year of training with the Federation of International Football Associations, FIFA. So Ivan, maybe my question would be, in the 1 year, what have you been able to attain as a student compared to all these other courses that you were doing before you got to do this course?
Thank you, Clive, for having me. And of course, I'm very happy to see my good friend George. Like he has told you, I've worked with George for over 20 years in sport, starting from KKO, like he said. And also Shaban is a very good friend of mine.
He said you're his former friend.
Are you misquoting? There's probably the breakdown in communication and the inconsistency.
Yeah, but please go ahead.
Yeah, but they're all my good friends because nothing can change. And it's not coincidence that, it's not by coincidence that I may be speaking the same things like George is speaking, because we have that connection for so long and we've been thinking and planning for the game to develop it in the country. So I'm more than happy to have him. And of course, are the courses needed? Yes, but passion alone is not sustainable. That's the basis of our discussion today. I would like to make it clear, like George has said, football needs leaders who are ready to read, to make research, learn and explore latest best practices in the game. Without that, we can't professionalize. We can't adopt. We can't challenge ourselves. So through courses, going for refresher courses and all that, which brings us to the earlier question from your colleague,
Emanzi.
The thing is that the FIFA courses of training people for
2 weeks,
for a week or so.
FUFA.
For 2 weeks. Yeah. The most important thing that I see in it, because we have to embrace anyone making an effort towards development of the game. Whatever they can do, they show some commitment. Though they may not be doing the right things, but at least the platform they are giving, because we all started there. And they gave us a platform, of course, to upgrade from what we learned in those 2 weeks. So it's better than nothing. So we can't discourage them, but they have to do more, to be able to bring on board. For example, that brings me to about the content for the FIFA diploma that we've been studying for 1 year. For example, when you go for such high-profile courses, first of all, it's an investment in terms of money. Most of these courses that we talk about, people going to CAF and going somewhere and doing an instructor's course, they usually come free. So don't blame the organizers because they don't have the big budgets to do these courses. Serious courses take about, for example, this FIFA diploma has been an investment of about $10,000. So tell me which sports administrators have access to this kind of money. It's a very big sacrifice vis-a-vis your family and a couple of other things. You all have to sacrifice this money. So it's not something easy, but we need these courses for the development of our game. And also, we've had a very access to very best presenters in the game at the moment, especially when we speak about football. We've had Ivan Gazdic. I don't know if you know him, the former CEO of Arsenal Football Club. He worked with them for 10 years. He's a football lawyer. And then he's also the guy who designed the MLS model. When you benchmark all these models that we've benchmarked, it helps us have a reality check. Are we doing the right things in the game? Because we may be complacent and thinking that we're doing the right things, yet we are doing nothing. Professionalization of the game comes with a lot of practices that we need to embrace. We had Peter Moore, the former Liverpool CEO. We had Stephen Mendes, a lecturer. He's on the FIFA academic board, and he's the guy who wrote the book, The Real Madrid Way. I don't know if you've read that book before, about Real Madrid. Then we had Victor Otta, how he managed to sustain Leeds United, he's the director of football at Leeds, how he sustained them in the championship and then bring them back to compete in the Premiership. They have a very interesting story behind them. Then we had, of course, Marcos Mota. He's a big lawyer in South America and he's also the agent of Neymar Jr. He's doing a lot. I think you're all aware about his transfer deals in the world football market. He's on top of his game, and it was amazing to learn from him and all his legal advice. Then we had Paul Baba. Paul Baba, the CEO and vice chairman of Brighton Athletic. Then Don Gaba, the commissioner of MLS League. We now have so many players moving from Uganda to the MLS, and we've had so many players playing the MLS. So that's key information that we need in terms of, just to mention a few. And also I would like to mention David Dean of the English Premiership because we are benchmarking the English Premier League. So those are key things that we need to attain. And the most important one that I want to state today is these courses are very important, especially to challenge the status quo at FIFA. You know, because even the FIFA courses have even become a requirement to ring-fence the president's position. So when are we going to break those barriers? We have to sacrifice and invest in these courses and go and challenge the status quo. So many times we've been waiting for the elections and we start challenging the status quo. Why don't we go and start and do the things they have put in place and we achieve them and we have the capacity to challenge them?
Ivan.
You know, yes.
I think I would love to pose a question to both of you guys. You having been in the industry for a while, and Ivan having been a CEO at two of the biggest clubs in Uganda, how ready, as a nation, how ready are we to embrace this?
I don't know, Ivan?
No, you can go first then.
Okay, thank you very much, Shaban. We're actually late. We should have started this way back. I like the fact that if you look at, for example, some of the better organized institutions in sport right now in Uganda, most of the leadership there have actually embraced these courses and have taken up these courses. I'll give you a live example of Uganda Olympic Committee where I'm attached. When you look at our governance structure, our leadership structure, from president, secretary general to all the executive members, and it is very, very clear in our constitution that you cannot stand for an executive position unless you have at least a minimum of a diploma in sports management.
Which I have.
Which you now have.
So I
although you still have to be from an affiliated federation. But either way, you're welcome when you're ready to, maybe the next election, and the members will make their decision. And this was an initiative that was started with William Blick as president. When he came in, a strategic plan for 2015, 2020, no, earlier, I think 2012, 2013, around there. One of the key objectives was to make sure that they train as many sports administrators as possible. And he took the mantle onto himself. He started it himself. He was the first one at the UOC to go back to school and did a master's in organizing Olympic sports organizations, what we call MEMOS. Then Don followed. Don is now a professor, a professor in sports management and governance at the IOC. Beatrice followed, and the rest of the team has followed. So there's no way around it. That's not a question you should even be asking that. How soon should we? We should have started this long time. Some of us realized it at a much younger stage and have taken it up to the level we're at.
So before we go any further, someone out there may be wondering if they qualify. Who qualifies to study such a course?
Depending on the level you're joining at. For example, on the side of Chambogo University, for you to join a diploma, of course, you must have Senior 6. You must have passed Senior 6 with at least a principal pass. Then for bachelor's degree, same thing, 2 principal passes, and the trend continues as you go higher. So I would say anyone qualifies, as long as you have a Senior 6 certificate.
Actually, I want to cut you short before we go for the break. When Shaban asks who qualifies, it takes us back to some of the statements Ivan said, that for you to qualify to be a decent sports administrator, you must be able to read and write and make a bit of research.
Exactly.
Most of these courses, especially from Mengo, yes, I've also done some of the courses there. They don't really ask much. As long as you pay the money they need in the bank, you'll go and study. When I was enrolling for the EOC about the courses, the SAC and ASMAC, we were actually required to submit our academic credentials. Because they needed to be sure that the people who are enrolling these courses can be able to meet certain standards. So maybe that that answers your question, who qualifies. Now, but probably that depends on who is enrolling these courses. But let's go out for a breather. When we return, we still have Ivan Kakebo online all the way from London. We still have George here, Shaban, and the discussion is going to continue. The discussion does continue. This is the sports dish, and of course, I will come your way every Monday to Friday. We discuss nothing but what happens in the world of sports. So today we are doing it a little bit different. We are discussing sports management courses. Are they important? Do we need them in our society? And joining us to discuss that is George Wagogo here, who is the programs director at the Uganda Olympic Committee, together with Ivan Kakembo, who is joining us all the way from London. Ivan Kakembo is a graduate of FIFA in a sports club or club management, and he did graduate, should have been last week in Zurich. Now, Ivan, before we went out for a breather, Shaban asked a question here that George here responded to, but maybe we would love to hear your version of the story, especially for me, what you've been studying for the last 1 year and how applicable is it in our society as Uganda. Of course, you've worked in Ugandan sport or football in particular, you know the challenges, but from what you've studied, trained by FIFA, how applicable are all those things in Uganda to grow Ugandan sport?
First of all, I wanted to clarify on something. For you to be able to qualify in these FIFA courses, they are looking for experience, because it's also one of the visions of FIFA at the moment. The FIFA president wants to make the game global. So they are trying to take the game out of Zurich to different confederations that make FIFA. So they went to Africa and they were mostly looking for applicants with experience in football club management. Like yesterday we said, it's they were not looking for experience in managing national teams or performance of national teams, but they were looking at club level, empowering clubs, and also equipping football executives at club level with the technical know-how of how to manage the game professionally in their countries. That's why, in terms of experience, you saw only 4 guys that came out of Africa, CAF in particular. That was only me from Uganda and 1 guy from Township Rollers in Botswana. He does their marketing. And then 1 guy from Cameroon, Frank Happy, who has been appointed by Samuel Eto'o as the director of football development. And also 1 guy from Egypt. It was the 4 of us that made it to this course, alongside other guys from different confederations that made FIFA. So it's an extensive application process where we beat about 400 applicants for this course in terms of our experience. So that means we'll bring some quality to this course. So some Clive asked how applicable are these courses.
The knowledge. How applicable is the knowledge in our setup, especially as a country, Uganda?
Yeah, first of all, it's a reality check, like I told you, because the way all these clubs that I mentioned that we've been benchmarking, and the people who have trained us, and the entire course has been focusing on a club having a strategic plan. Everything rotates around a strategic plan. Once you have a strategic plan, a written mission statement, mission and vision, and how you're going to achieve your objectives of this strategic plan, that is by of course hiring a knowledgeable and professional CEO who can implement the strategic plan. I can bring back the question to tell me how many clubs in the Uganda Premier League have a strategic plan that they are following to the dot.
No one.
None. How many clubs have a written mission statement and vision?
None.
Exactly. So that's how relevant these courses are. And how applicable, that's a story for another day. We have the leaders that I talked about when we started that can embrace this. Can you see a club willing to invest in professionalism? Professionalism meaning not hiring a CEO who is an office messenger. Hiring a CEO who will be empowered to work.
Who has authority.
And manage the club.
Exactly. Not to bring a CEO who you're going to demonize, you know, to try involve in your fighting and all that, to bring a CEO to deliver the job. If he doesn't deliver the end of the season, you fire him.
That CEO, we have one. She's at Lugogo.
Ivan,
only empowered CEO.
I think as you answer that, are you having worked at, especially you are, because probably many people think that they're supposed to be doing the things the right way. What do you think is hindering us to embrace all this, like in terms of sports management? Because I understand there are so many people out there who have studied this course, and somehow, not because they don't want, they have failed to secure probably roles in different clubs and institutions.
Yeah, the biggest hindrance that we have mostly is political persecution, starting with the federation and also going down in the club boards, especially the former club secretaries that the CEOs replace. They are still fighting for powers. Some CEO, for example, CEO, the club secretary at URA told me that the secretariat is mine because I'm the secretary. He's forgetting that the club CEO is only accountable to the club board and the club chairman, not to anyone else. Because I'm an expatriate, I'm a professional who is coming to deliver the club targets. So I don't deliver the club targets from the club general secretary. They are still fighting with the CEOs. They don't recognize their position, and they don't. You can also not blame them, because you can't have a CEO whom you can challenge or whom you've made more research. You understand? You also, as the CEO, you have to show what you can do, because if your club chairman can challenge you, and also the club boards are full of people who are politicians. They don't know anything to do with the day-to-day management of the game. That's why the people like George need to help us and train these club board people and all those, because some clubs, they appoint people who talk much about Arsenal and Man U, and they appoint them on the club board thinking that they know how the game is run professionally, and they don't have the latest technical know-how and best practices in the way the game is being run. They can't even interpret a strategic plan. So how can we have these people? Yes.
No, I was going to go on, I think, elaborate more on what Emanzi asked earlier, because if we have people who are running clubs and they studied for only a week or two, is that a good start, or do we need more, like in terms of education in the course, so as to better the running of our clubs and the institutions?
Yeah, but also before we take the blame to FUFA, we need to understand that also these club boards and chairmen, they never show up for these refresher courses.
Exactly, because FUFA requests for you to send representatives, and they send the wrong people to these courses.
Yes.
They never show up. Yeah, they never show up.
I remember one
from the top.
Because I remember one where I was a club PRO, and they were asking me to go for such a...
Instead of the chairman, the CEO.
Definitely, instead of a CEO, and I'm like, what am I going to go and do there?
But also, Shaban, it comes back to what I've just said. You know, when you're going for a course, you look at the course content, because what motivates me to pay $10,000 to FIFA and pay all my travels, I have to see what I'm getting out of this course. If I'm going to go for a course and my trainer is Paul Mutakabara, do you expect me to attend that waste my time on that? You know, I'm investing in a course where I'm going to be trained by a person like George, who I know, and I know his credentials. I'm going to pay $10,000 to be trained by Ivan Gastis. You understand what I'm saying? I'm going to be trained. You know, also the quality of the trainers matters.
Actually, Ivan,
my time and investment.
If I could just add something to what Ivan is saying, I'm here smiling because you're actually paying 10,000. In Uganda, we've done these courses for free, free of charge. All we need is people to attend, but they actually don't. When the IOC designed the capacity building courses at UOC, the ASMAC and SAC, like you talked, they were specifically designed for federation leadership. The president, secretary generals, the administrators, and people like that. But in the first year when you started these courses in 2013, all of them, every time you try to get in touch with them to ask them to come and do those courses, those courses are for these young kids, these you know. And they never showed up. It's fortunate that those that have done the courses, you actually see a change. You see some federations which actually have strategic plans, which are running. Some of them have them, but they're just hidden under you know, the trades there. They're not actually following them.
Yeah, but also, George, as we go...
Also some information on what George has just said. It also comes back to those associations or international bodies that run the game in Uganda. For example, if this FIFA diploma was free and there was no investment or that kind of sum of money, some of us wouldn't even have known. But because they scanned in between themselves and no one could afford the investment, they had to open it to people who can be able to pay the fees. If it was free, it wouldn't be known about. That's why even the people ended up trying even to pull me out of the course. But they couldn't pull me out of a course where I paid my personal money, whereby I made my own private application because they think, oh, these courses are gazetted for them. When you go to FIFA, they only ask you about Edgar and Magogo. They're the people know. So they were shocked to see that there are some people with substance.
Yeah, Ivan, we are going to come back to you. I want to ask a question to Georgia. For how long have we been having these UOC courses?
It's close to 8 years now.
8 years.
8, 9 years.
How many sports administrators have come out?
For both SAC and ASMA, we've trained about, it's coming close to 2,000.
So today you could say in the country like Uganda, we have an average of 2,000 trained sports administrators.
Yes.
But these people are not getting, let me add myself to the list, we are not getting jobs.
That is what I was going to ask.
We still have the same challenges that these different sports federations, associations are facing. I mean, you have people who are trained. We actually even have some who have gone and nurtured and studied these masters from Europe and all that. But they are not being approached by these sports federations to help them grow.
I think, George, to add on Clive's question, because I understand you have the expertise and you are the people who are training these guys. How comes someone of your experience is not out there trying to make to grow a sport or grow a club?
It's a very, very, very good question. Shaban, like we had a discussion during the break, the problem we have in this country, in Uganda, mainly in the sports sector, is like Ivan said, first politics. Secondly, most of the guys who have the muscle in the federations, in the clubs, in these sports institutions, fear you guys who have the qualifications. Because at the back of their minds, they're like, if I bring Clive on board, Clive might challenge me, or he might actually take away my club, my whatever it is he's running. The biggest issue, because it happened to me, I don't know whether Ivan remembers this, but I remember we had a discussion about this way back, so many years back. My first degree is in education. I'm a teacher by profession, but teaching wasn't really my passion. My passion was sport, being a footballer and doing so many other sports. So I told my old man I want to go back to school and study sports. He was surprised and said, what is this young man talking about? But I told him that's what I want, because it was a new sector in academics then. So I went back and did a diploma in sport. And FUFA advertised the job. There were so many jobs. That's the time Edgar joined FUFA as CEO.
After Masembe.
After Masembe. So I applied for a job of a records officer for FUFA. When I went for the interview, a gentleman on the panel, who I cannot speak here on national TV, told me, you're too qualified to do this job. And that job was given to a guy who didn't even have a senior 6 certificate. I walked out of that room bleeding from my heart, saying, okay, a diploma is too high a qualification. That's when I made a choice and said, I am going to go and take this higher to the highest level.
Let me also share a story. I worked for this sports institution. We had our first sports event. So I went on the staff WhatsApp group and I posted, and I'm like, I think we need to have a review meeting tomorrow morning. Everyone was okay with it. So next day I come to office and this gentleman asked me in Uganda, say what I said meeting. So that's when I was like, you need you need to go slow. You need to know your boundaries and stuff like that. But there's a message coming in here. Dave Kumar is based in the UK. He's watching via online. He actually says kudos to you and the UOC for the good work you're doing. And he wants to get in touch with Ivan. This is his message. He said, when you talked about the first time we had these courses and people didn't show up, he actually says, not only in Uganda alone, when UNOC started the courses for Olympic Solidarity Funding support in 2016, a tendency for people from different Olympic committees in Africa was free, but people still struggled to show up.
Exactly.
So it's not only in Uganda, but you could say it is a problem on the African continent.
Exactly. The issue is we still have this primitive mentality, thinking that sport is something you do just to have fun, recreation. But everyone, you look at the federation leaderships in Uganda here, and everyone is saying, we need to professionalize sport, we need more money in sport. How do you think government is going to give you money when you can't even account for the little that you have? You can't even develop a strategic plan. You don't have human resource in place. You don't even have an office. Clive, how many federations have briefcase offices? Yes, and everyone knows I'm the president here, I'm the secretary general here, but there's nothing to show that they're actually doing. That's why I commend like my bosses in Chambogo, for example. In Chambogo University, you cannot be a sports tutor unless you have a master's degree in sports administration. You can't. And it comes across all public universities.
Ivan, before you come in,
I wanted to add some information.
Yes, Ivan.
I wanted to add some information about what George was saying and what you said earlier. It also comes back to ask the people who make this investment to go for these courses. How do you position yourself? For example, Ugandan football has suffered mostly because people that can develop the game have been discouraged. People have been banned who can bring some substance to the administration of the game. For example, myself, I'm ready for ban anytime, but I'm ready to fight it off. Because
what have you done now?
Yeah, the more we tell the truth, I don't believe in what happened. I'm the most blocked football administrator on the FIFA platforms. I'm blocked everywhere.
I know. Ivan, it has happened to you for a very long time. I'm surprised you even still.
Ivan, I have a question. I have a question for you, but allow me read this message first. It's a message that is coming in from another CEO in the Uganda Premier League, and he's saying George is right. Clubs will not employ someone who will challenge them. The reason Obua, he's referring to David, who was coaching football, the reason Obua was sacked from certain club because he was challenging them.
Please don't mention the CEO's name.
No, I won't mention the CEO's name. I won't mention that club, but he just gave us something perspective. Like, they won't hire.
No, by why not? Why not? If you hide the name, we shall not challenge these people.
Okay, David Obua was coaching football at Maroons Football Club, and they couldn't take it because he was asking so many questions. And this is because he was a qualified man and he needed things to move.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my question for you, Ivan, our time is fast spent. Kati Fenga Uganda tukufunamu disable. Yes, you're done with school. You're now living in the UK with your family. With all that worth of knowledge, how is Uganda going to benefit from you?
Yeah, by going for this course, I made a decision that I could see behind, ahead of, or above Ugandan borders. because even when some people saw that I had applied for this course, they even hit the federation social media platforms to praise other CEOs that are the best to go for the international market. I said, fair enough, if that's what they see, so I made that decision and followed. So at this level, I'm doing a lot of consultants at the moment for Ugandan clubs because first of all, for a Ugandan club to hire me, they have to break the bank. That's also something you need to look into because I've invested in what I am and in what I know, and it's not coming for free. So my services have to be paid for because I've invested in them. So, but of course, it's our commitment for a club to contract me as a club, so because it will come with so many demands that they have to fulfill. And you know what they will say? You're
overqualified.
Beyond the border. Exactly, they will tell me I'm overqualified. So let me open up the market and go where I think I may be understood and where I'm needed. But of course, I'm open to do consultants work with clubs in Uganda. to help them. But also don't forget, as we lay grounds to challenge that status quo, because there are things that need to be looked into. For example, there are amendments in the FIFA statute that's going to be done. Whether they want to
what's the latest?
Ivan,
what's the latest? I remember the last time FIFA was communicating, saying that we shall have amendments in the electoral code before the next elections. What's the latest?
Yeah, I never wanted to release a lot of information at the moment, but since you're pushing there, I can tell you. For now, yes, I'll tell you this for now. That's what I'm saying. That's why even I didn't show many of my connections, because I want to protect them. But I'm gonna provide an alternative FIFA statute and electoral code. Because I've had a very big legal team, and we've managed to dissect what FIFA has at the moment and what they bring first. And we are raising all this, and then this is going to be the basis of the amendments. So whether Magogo thinks that his delegates are going to put up hands and clap at whatever amendments are
Ivan,
just watch this.
Ivan, one last one from Shaban before
Ivan,
we let you go.
Exactly that, because I had avoided it too. What are the chances that whatever you are going to provide as an alternative is going to be picked up on?
My assurance is, be sure that we're going to do electoral code in the FIFA statutes. That's what I can say.
And the final one, Clive, I think I will go to George, my final question. I was reading about the sports management course, and I was amazed how broad it is. Could you please...
something that I forgot, Shaban. For your assurance, FIFA has just appointed a new director for member associations. And this guy has been my classmate, so expect lots of things coming.
Okay. George, as I was explaining, because after the discussion we had with Clive last week, I tried to dig into the sports administration and the course, and I was amazed how broad it is, because I found out probably you could not only be a CEO, because many people think that whoever studies this will end up probably being a CEO, but I found out that you probably will turn into a sports agent, something like that. How broad is it? And could you please shed a clear picture to someone who's watching and let them know that you don't have to only become a CEO
as
you
you
study
wind up.
this? Yeah.
Okay, briefly, these are two courses that we do. We do the certificate course, which we call the sports administrator course, and the advanced diploma course, or the advanced sports management course. The advanced course is more intense. It's really hectic. Clive here will tell you sometimes he had sleepless nights. It's a process. You need to understand the process of the course. What do you need to go through? It's the same thing that happens in any organization, any sports organization. Before you say you're going to, for example, host an African tournament, football tournament, whatever it is, what process do you have to go through? So that's what this course tries to train you. Yeah, you need to understand what the organization is. You need to understand that you have to have a plan, a strategy. You need to have human resource in place. You need to have the right finances. Yeah, if you don't have finances, start planning how you mobilize. You need to market. You need to organize. So it is intense, yes, but it gives you a clear understanding of how do you manage your day-to-day activities as a sports organization. So there is no way around it. You have to do these things, put them in place before you can actually achieve what you intend to achieve.
Well, looks like that's all the time we had for you today on the show. Probably this could be an indicator to management that we need more time to discuss sports of this show. But of course, a big thank you. I don't know if Ivan is still on. Maybe he could wave to us as we let him go. He did join us all the way from London. Ivan, thank you for joining us and sharing your insights with us. We did have George Wagogo here. He's the programs director at the Uganda Olympic Committee, and he tried to put everything in perspective. Sports administrators out there, the sports politicians, give these people a chance to work. That is the only way sport will be able to grow in this country. Clive Chaze is my name. Shaban was with us. Emanzi joined us from Neje. That's all we had for you. Have a blessed day.